What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Doing a little Steelers-Packers film room. Wanted to cover some stuff with the Steelers defense. They did an excellent job in the red zone against the Packers. Going to go over some of these plays and show you guys, how they were so successful by keeping Green Bay out of the end zone. Just 1 for 5 on the afternoon. Big reason they were able to come away with the win, 23-19. Came down to the wire like it always does for the Steelers, but overall I thought the defense played well, stood tall in those moments where it mattered the most. So just before we get into the film, y'all know the drill. Please make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, drop me a comment. All that stuff's greatly appreciated. Let's get after it. All right, so we're going to start with the Packers' very first drive on offense. This is 1st and 11, I think, right near the red zone. Just really wanted to highlight this play just to talk about my guy Keanu Benton, number 95 in the middle. Thought he had an excellent game against the Packers, so I had to work him into the video in some capacity. The Steelers are going to match this 11 personnel look from Green Bay with their nickel over front with Benton as the 2-eye. Just really appreciate the lockout here, and then you see him peek across the backside. This lockout, peek, shed, makes a run stop for a gain of, I think, like 2-3 yards on A.J. Dillon. Dillon's a difficult dude to get on the ground. I mean, everybody's seen, like, the videos and the pictures of just, like, his lower body and just how he consistently carries guys for additional yards. But really nice run stop there from Benton. I thought he had a really good performance, not just as a run defender, but also as a pass rusher. All right, so now we're going to move on to 3rd and 7. This is the first touchdown of the game for Jordan Love and the Packers. Really difficult one when you watch it on film. Basically, the Steelers are playing cover 5 or 2-man, whatever you want to call it, and they're going to get kind of a shallow cross to the top of the screen, and then you're going to get an out route in a corner from the bottom of the screen. Now, we'll kind of break this thing down, but the use of motion for the Packers, you guys can see how they're using motion to create a leverage advantage. So not only does this motion create a indicator for the quarterback on man versus zone, so with Wallace traveling with this receiver, he pretty much knows that he's getting some type of man coverage look. But you can see as he comes back across the formation, you see the hand signals, everybody saying, hey, I got it, hey, I got it. They're basically pushing over and switching responsibility. So instead of Wallace having the outermost receiver, he's going to come up and take Romeo Doubs as the point man to the bunch on the corner route. Now, what this does is you can see how much of a leverage advantage Wallace already is. In 2-man, you're always going to be playing inside leverage ideally anyway because there's no help to the middle of the field. The middle of the field is open with the safety split. But with this right here, with him still not really even set for the play, Dobbs kind of comes up, gives him a little jab step at the break point. And from right here, pretty easy throwing window for Jordan Love and a pretty ball to the corner of the end zone. Now, one of the things that I think is worth noting as well here, you can watch DeMonte KZ, who is responsible for the deep half of that end zone. Look at where his eyes are. His eyes are working towards the shallow cross with Luke Musgrave, who is coming underneath. And it looks like he is really keying on this ball going underneath, but doesn't see kind of the receiver moving behind him, which ideally, in 2-man, your safeties need to be giving you help over the top. But this is one of the weaknesses of calling 2-man. The weaknesses of 2-man in general are usually athletic quarterbacks that can break the pocket. With man coverage, you got everybody down the field, guys' backs turned, whatever. Jordan Love's not really a scrambler, but one of the weaknesses of calling this thing in the red zone is there's just not as much space for the safeties to get depth in their drops, which kind of takes away one of the advantages of them being able to play top down on some of these route concepts. So good play from Jordan Love from the opposite hash. Really frustrating one. I think it's just a difficult position to be able to put Levi Wallace in. I know he's really struggled this season. This is not an easy play to make given just the route concept and the defensive call. But, ideally too, we got to make sure that we at least contest the throw here. I mean, this is way too much separation for an NFL quarterback to be able to fit that ball into. All right, so following a run stop from Cam Hayward, we get a 2nd down and long right here from Jordan Love working out a shotgun. The Steelers are going to be running just like classic, just cover 1. basically man coverage across the board. They get hit with, they're bringing 5-man pressure, and they get hit with a screen pass. Wanted to highlight this one. I wrote about Landon Roberts' performance for Steelers Now, so if y'all want to go back and kind of look at some thoughts on his performance overall, you can. But I wanted to highlight this one for the channel as well, just because I think it's a really good job on multiple aspects, just because we talked about it, on the preview show. They love to throw to Romeo Doubs in the red zone. First time they go to him. And then I talked about how the Packers love to throw screens, especially to Aaron Jones when he's in the lineup. So right here, Roberts is responsible for Aaron Jones leaking out of the backfield in man coverage. Now, this is a really difficult spot for anybody to be in because, you see Jones, he's going to get the ball. He's got multiple blockers, basically a caravan, and it turns into punt return right out here. But one thing that Roberts really does a good job of is making sure that he dips his shoulder and takes the angle outside in. Because here's the deal. If he takes this blocker onto the inside, all Jones is going to do is he's not even going to lose stride. He's just going to go right to the pylon and score. But because he takes it outside in, not able to get the tackle, but at least he gets a hand on him. Now watch Keanu Benton, number 95, working as the zero tech. Watch him try to get up the field. He's going to club swim and then retrace versus the screen. That's just an excellent hustle play, man. That's a screen. Offenses, they like to throw these screens against pressure looks, right? 5-man pressure, especially man coverage, because it's usually just the back versus the linebacker. But this is just excellent hustle from 95. Just want to slow this down, man. These are the types of plays that we've been used to, like Cam Hayward, Stephon Tuitt making over the years. Coach Tomlin preaches, getting extra hats to the ball. This is just a really good effort from a rookie, buying into what the Steelers teach, what they preach on the defensive line, and making a heck of a play, turns into what should have been a good play call, especially they catch the Steelers in a blitz, ends up in a gain of basically nothing and puts them into a less than advantageous 3rd and long situation. So awesome play by two Steelers front 7 defenders right there. All right, so here we got a 3rd and long. Jordan Love operating out of empty. Get another motion check right here. They changed the numbers a little bit at the bottom of the screen to give Jordan Love, not just the zone indicator, but maybe cause some confusion on the switch. The Steelers are playing what I think is kind of like a inverted Tampa 2 look with Joey Porter Jr. sliding to the back half of the field and Elijah Riley, who was basically operating as the dime backer this week. So, I know a lot of people were curious about why Darius Rush was inactive. Coach Tomlin said, it was really just a game plan thing. They were planning on running some stuff with Riley in the lineup that maybe he was more familiar with from a coverage standpoint. I'm not really sure I 100% buy that explanation. But I mean, I don't think Riley played necessarily poorly outside of maybe a play later in the game that I thought he was responsible for. But basically Riley's detailed kind of explanation or what he should be doing right here is just carrying whoever ends up being the number 3 receiver vertically. So he's going to open up. In Tampa 2, you want your dime backer, middle linebacker type to open up to the strong side of the formation and just carry this guy vertically and wall off towards the middle of the field. You don't want to allow this guy to cross your face, which he does a good job of. You see him once he sees that seam up the middle. A lot of teams like to attack too high coverage like this, right? You want to run your tight end, especially if you got a good athlete like Musgrave who's got a size advantage in this type of situation. Love looks like he wants to throw him kind of back shoulder here, and the ball is just kind of off target. But really good coverage from 37 right here. I'll kind of show you guys this from the back angle just to kind of see, kind of how tight this window is for Love. You can tell he sees the split safety look, and he immediately is going to the tight end across the middle. Tries to throw this guy back shoulder, just an inaccurate ball. But I do think it's a good job by Riley to not let him cross his face, make this a really difficult grab. So good stop. And the Steelers force another field goal. So I mentioned it, at the start of the, video, but the Steelers are only allowing touchdowns on 40% of their red zone opportunities for their opponents right now. That's 4th best in the league. So literally less than half the time when opponents are getting down there, they're coming away with touchdowns. That's a huge, huge deal, man, in terms of winning and losing football games at the National Football League level. And a big part of, what the Steelers have been preaching. They'll give up some yards, but it's really bend but don't break. So the Packers had 4 red zone possessions in the second half alone, and they ended up going 0 for 4. So that was really the biggest reason they lost the game, in my opinion. Right here is 2nd and 10. Again, the Steelers are out in their nickel formation, nickel over against the Packers running kind of what I would say is like split zone. Maybe mid-zone from the Packers unit. Just really wanted to highlight the play of the defensive lineman. Really nice job by Cam Hayward getting his helmet to the play side and make sure he's maintaining that line of scrimmage. And also nice job by Armon Watts to avoid getting reached by the right guard. Nice little rip move to get into the gap. Basically, from right here, Aaron Jones has nowhere to go. We see Keanu Neal from the backside in pursuit. You got 3 defenders right here to bottle this thing up. Aaron Jones was really priority number 1, in my opinion, coming into the week just because of, how much I thought the Packers were going to try to feed him the rock with him being fully healthy now. But the Steelers only allowed 31% success rate for the Packers rushing game. That was huge in this one. Jordan Love made some plays, but I thought overall, outside of a handful of plays, they did a really good job bottling up the Green Bay run game, especially down in the red zone. All right, so another 3rd down situation right here. This is kind of a funny play to go over because I do think it highlights kind of some of the stuff that the Steelers have been going through with all these injuries. Quan Alexander, Cole Holcomb now done for the season, unfortunately, which is really sad news, especially because of how well those guys have been contributing to the defense. But it's forcing some of these guys that haven't played a lot in these passing down situations into kind of new environments. You see right here, we have both linebackers, which are Mark Robinson and Landon Roberts. This is just man coverage, and both of them are running towards the running back in the flat. Really what I think this is supposed to be is cover 1 robber. So typically what will happen right here is if you have 2 linebackers on the field and you have a robber or maybe a blitz on, whichever side the back releases to, that linebacker will take the person in coverage. So right here with him releasing to the left, Robinson would normally follow him in man coverage. Now, if Jones or whoever the back is right here were to release to the right side of the field, then it would make more sense for Roberts to take him in man coverage and then Mark Robinson to come back and be the hole defender in cover 1 to take away any crossers over the middle of the field. Really, it just helps because what happens is if you don't do that, it puts your defenders, especially your linebackers who you may or may not trust in coverage, at a leverage disadvantage. So really nice job here in terms of Mark Robinson. Make sure he's taking this guy to the flat. Landon Roberts, who doesn't play a lot on passing downs up until this week because they just didn't have other bodies, he does a good job realizing that he's in the wrong here, I think. And he's like, oh, this is not my guy. We already had this guy covered, and kind of falls back into that hole roll and it at least delivers a good hit to help take this ball away. I think this ball was probably going to be dropped regardless, but you saw a really conscious effort for the Packers to get their tight end, Luke Musgrave, matched up with some of the safeties and some of the linebackers against the Steelers where he was going to have a really big speed advantage. That's something we can go over maybe in a different video for the channel. But I thought overall, nice job of at least not making a bad play worse and getting back into the play. Fortunately, we get kind of a drop. Good job by Keanu Neal, too, by playing through the hands. But forcing another field goal, so that's a W for the defense. All right, so the Packers down 4, driving in the red zone once again. They're going to run a little toss sweep play to the boundary. Now, more than anything here, I won't get on my soapbox, but I hate running toss plays to the boundary, especially down in the red zone. Just not really my cup of tea, but maybe LaFleur likes it. I thought he called a pretty decent game, but this is just not my kind of flavor right here. But I think it's a good, nice job by Cam Hayward. You see him tracking this thing. They're stringing this run out to the sideline, not allowing Jones to cut it up. You see Alex Highsmith, he ends up getting a matchup with a receiver right here, ducking inside, kind of forces Jones to take a little bit wider of a track than he probably wants. And then you kind of got the second level defenders, Landon Roberts and Cam Hayward pushing back from the backside. So really nice job here just to kind of bottle this thing up, short gain, turn it into kind of second and long. All right, so this was probably the biggest play of the game. The Packers really came in, like I said, I thought that they kind of game planned some of their matchups, but just based on some of the guys that had struggled for the Steelers, particularly Patrick Peterson, who I thought had by far the best game of his Steelers career. including, not just blocking the extra point early in the game, which proved very costly for Green Bay as they were trying to, tie this thing up late in the game. But I thought he was excellent in coverage, too, in particular against Christian Watson. The Steelers ended up with these two in a man-to-man situation, basically, multiple times, but I thought Peterson played extremely well. Basically, the Packers here are just running kind of mirror double moves. So at the top of the screen, they're going to get a stick and nod from the tight end, and then they're going to run Christian Watson on an out and up from a condensed split. This is something that I've seen red zone wise just throughout the NFL over the last couple of years. Not too crazy of a concept. Basically, what the Steelers are doing on the back end, this looks like quarters to me. So kind of how this plays out is going to be, they're in their base defense. So the Steelers are in their, 3-4 base because the Packers are in 12 personnel. And Highsmith end up dropping into coverage. So he's going to be responsible for the number 2 receiver here, which is Luke Musgrave on the stick and nod. He does a good job making sure that he's in phase right here. And then as Musgrave kind of breaks to the outside with the head fake, it almost looks like a stick concept. And then you see the nod, which he's able to create a little bit of separation, but that's pretty good coverage for an outside linebacker who doesn't really do that for a living. Kind of the responsibilities here for Keanu Neal. He's reading the number 2 receiver to the number 1. So you can kind of see where his eyes are going right here. He's kind of peeking into the backfield before getting his eyes on the tight end because he needs to help Alex Highsmith over the top just in case he does go vertical, because you don't want your linebacker carrying a guy like that vertically because of the speed mismatch. Now Peterson here, he's playing off coverage. Just a really good job not overreacting to this out route. I think he is anticipating some type of stick concept or some type of quick out, which they did a couple different times throughout this game. So he does a good job, kind of triggering downhill to cut this off and at least make this a difficult completion if it is an out route. But this is not the best route, honestly, from Christian Watson, who kind of starts fading upfield and doesn't sell this thing good at all. But Peterson knows. He's got his eyes in the backfield right here, and as soon as Love separates, he knows the ball's coming to him. I love him being physical throughout the route right here, getting hands on the receiver. That way he can feel him, and also just shrinking this space to the sideline and squeezing him to make sure that this is a really difficult area to fit this football in. And right here, after the speed turn, we get, him kind of just walled up against the sideline. And then Peterson does a good job using his length to bat away the pass. And unfortunately for them, Keanu Neal is able to, be right there just for an interception that falls in his lap. So really nice play from Peterson. I know he's had a kind of a rough go of it. Really for the first half of the season, some athletic stuff, limitations have kind of came up, but I thought that he deserved a lot of credit just for the way that he played, especially against a guy like Christian Watson, who is known as kind of a speedster. You can see him reaching up, really like attacking this thing with one hand, playing through the hands. Peterson's a really long corner, so he uses that well to his advantage. That's an absolutely crazy play to make in a really clutch spot. In my opinion, the play of the game. So this is the last play of the game for the Packers on offense. This is the game-sealing interception by DeMonte KZ. Just really wanted to go over this one. I mean, this is like the worst spot to be put in if you're a quarterback, having to basically, you have one down to get into the end zone, because you're going to see basically what the Steelers are doing right here. It's just a picket fence across the end zone line. You don't have very many plays, very many good options to score on a play like this. The Steelers are just bringing 4 and then basically putting 7 guys at the end zone. One thing that I will say, the Packers are just kind of running. It almost looks like they're trying to get in breakers from the outside receivers, and then they kind of get dual corner routes with the seam up the middle. Really, they're just trying to clear out some space, I think, for this in breaker coming across the goal line so you can fit this ball in and try to score. One thing that I will say, just a teaching point thing for KZ, I think he does a really good job just planting his feet at the front of the end zone. Something that you'll see a lot of DBs do, not just in this situation, but in red zone situations in general, that drives me insane, is they'll start getting depth in the end zone. Like you have to defend the front of the end zone, not the back of the end zone. It's not like these guys are going to run past you. like in this situation. So really good job by KZ, just reading the quarterback's eyes and make sure that he's not giving too much ground and just staying planted. Nice trigger, and then he gets a free interception right there. So that definitely helps the stats at the end of the year. Nice to get a pick in that situation to close out the game, especially at home with the fans, terrible towels going crazy, all that stuff. So Packers 1 for 5 in the red zone. That's how you lose ball games. The Steelers did an excellent job, bending but not breaking, coming up with turnovers in those situations, not even giving field goals away. So I thought that definitely was deserving of a video and one of the most important aspects of them being able to come away with the win on Sunday against the Packers. So if you guys watch the whole video, appreciate y'all. Again, like the video, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications. All that stuff's greatly appreciated. I'm going to plan on doing something else with the defense here in the next 24 hours or so if I can carve out the time. So be on the lookout for that as well. And if there's anything else that you guys want to see this week, be sure to holler at me and let me know. And I will check you guys next time. Peace and love.